Whether this is your first annual meeting or your 40th, there's always something to learn prior to the event. And this week, Nathan Finn joins me to cover some of the finer points of the annual meeting on this week's episode of The Road to Indy, presented by Southern Seminary and Boyce College. Nathan, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Jonathan. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to have you. You serve as the recording secretary for the Southern Baptist Convention, and in your role, you're involved in helping inform messengers in Southern Baptist. You and I both want messengers to be better informed when they come to Indy. So let's start with messenger orientation. That's something that all messengers are open to go to, not required, but it's available to everyone. It's going to be held on Monday, June 10th at 4:45 p.m. in the 500 ballroom inside the convention center. So why is this an important opportunity for messengers to consider attending?
So the thing that I love about messenger orientation is it is the ideal place to have answered all the questions that you have, but you're either embarrassed to ask or you're asking the wrong people.
Oh, there we go.
So we
It's
literally
a lot of
get
times
together.
it's the latter more than the former.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we get together and we talk about the difference between motions and resolutions. We talk about the flow of the meeting itself. We talk about how to speak into the microphone. We talk about who the different individuals are up on the platform. We talk about the difference between a report coming from an entity and a time of open business. And it was a wonderful experience last year. My understanding is it was a record number of people who attended. They had great questions. It was a lot of fun. And so I think it is well worth, even a messenger who's been there for a number of years, it's well worth his or her time to go to that orientation just to be better prepared to be an effective messenger at the Southern Baptist Convention.
Yeah, especially if it's your first time and you've watched it at home online. I mean, that's something you and I have both done. We've watched it from afar.
Absolutely.
And now we're in the midst of it. But the messenger orientation, I think we've made a bigger deal of it the last 3 or 4 years, and we've seen an exponential growth in the number of messengers that are coming to that. We have hundreds of messengers now, where it used to be tens of messengers that were showing up for orientation. So it's really cool to see that messengers are getting involved and they want to know how to do business, but more importantly, and I think you hit it, how to do business rightly. So you mentioned, and we'll talk a little bit more about some of the things that get covered in that, but other than orientation, what are some other resources that are available to messengers to maybe help them do business rightly?
So here's what I want any messengers to hear that are paying attention to this interview. We want to make life easy for you.
Absolutely.
It can seem overwhelming and chaotic, but we want you to have a good experience, and we want you to be able to express your opinions and have a voice in what's going on. So for that reason, we try to provide messengers with a number of different resources that are helpful. First and foremost, right before the convention, anytime now, between now and the convention, go to sbcannualmeeting.net, and you can go ahead and see what the program is going to be, what's going to happen when. You'll want to notice that there's, for example, a Tuesday night session. We've not had that in several years, but you can go and see what's going to happen when. You can also download the Messenger app from the website or from an app store. That is a great electronic one-stop shop for everything that you need to be a messenger. Whenever you get there and register as a messenger, there's going to be a bag that's going to include some information that can be helpful to you if you prefer to have physical copies instead of using the SBC app. There will be information stations that are available. They're in the building so that you can grab helpful folks who want to send you to the right place and help you think through things. And then also there's the daily bulletin, and that's another excellent resource. You can grab that whenever you come in to the building, or it's available on the app. Again, that's the great one-stop shop. And the daily bulletin also lets you know what's happening that day, when it's going to happen, and what information that you need to know. Again, our job as Southern Baptist officers and as Southern Baptist Executive Committee staff, Jonathan and your team, we want to make life easy for the messengers. And so we try to give as many resources as we can so that that's the case.
Absolutely. And one of those resources is the Book of Reports. Now, you didn't mention that specifically, but that's something that comes out beforehand. And you're able to get that and read that electronically. It'll be in the app. It'll also be available. Baptist Press will do a story in the 1st of May, whenever it comes out. and you'll be able to download that, look at that. That has a lot of reports, a lot of financial data from different entities, things like that. But again, all of this, you mentioned the app. If you go to spcannualmeeting.net/app, everything's in the app. We put everything that we put out for messengers is available in the app as soon as we have it. And you can download that app, have the app, use the app, because it's got the schedule, like you mentioned. It's got the book of reports. It'll have the daily bulletins in there in electronic form. If you haven't been able to get over to the convention center in the mornings to pick those up, all of that's going to be available. And another thing that'll be available early this year, at 10 days out from the convention, it's like the Friday of Memorial Day week. So that Monday is Memorial Day. On that Friday, I believe Baptist Press is going to put out the resolution report. So a preliminary report from the resolutions committee. So you got that available to you as well. So Nathan, I mean, you nailed it. There are a ton of information that we make available for messengers to show up in Indy and be informed as best as possible. So we put it out there kind of on a silver platter for everybody. One thing you mentioned was, what's the difference in a motion and a resolution? Well, let's talk about motions here for a second. There are 2 times to make motions at the annual meeting. There's one on Tuesday morning, one on Tuesday afternoon. And one thing that really helps you in your role, and me and mine as well, because we're putting sometimes up on the screens, pre-filing the motions. Why is that something that messengers should do, and how is it helpful both for you and for your fellow messengers?
So let me say this. Pre-filing motions might be the most underrated, useful thing that happens at the Southern Baptist Convention. When somebody pre-files a motion, what that means is I see it, and it means that my liaison with the executive committee staff sees it. We're not sharing it with the whole world. We're not broadcasting it, but it's so we can see the wording that you intend to bring before the Southern Baptist Convention. We're able to go ahead and get that into the document that's going to become the next day's daily bulletin. We're able to have that wording ready for the screen if we need to put it up on the screen. It makes everything flow so much more smoothly. Mm-hmm. So last year, after we did our version of this interview, Jonathan, there were several people on social media who said, don't you give them that information. That's your information. That's, whatever you want to do as a messenger. Don't give it to the man. Guys, I swear we're not going to share it with anybody.
No.
It just makes it easier for us to get your motion before Southern Baptist so they know exactly what it is that they're going to be voting for.
Yeah.
So you can email me at recordingsecretary@sbc.net. Send me that wording that you plan to use for the motion. I will have it in front of me whenever you stand at the microphone, and everything will go so much better for everybody whenever you pre-file that motion.
Yeah, and there's also a spot in the app right on the homepage there where you click on pre-file. And if you click on that, it brings up and tells you how to do it. It allows you to just click a button and it pops up there. You can shoot an email. It'll go to Nathan. He'll have it, and we'll be able to do that. And one of the things, too, I don't think people understand, like whenever you show up at a microphone and you want to make, and this is not just for motions, by the way, this could be amendments. This could be, to a resolution. This could be amendment to a point that's being made. It's always helpful if you just knock that out real quick, because not only do we have the wording, you've got something now on your phone whenever you stand up there to read, and you're not trying to make it up on the fly. People mess up whenever they do that because you miss wording. And we'll talk about the importance of wording in just a second when we get to the parliamentarians. But it allows you to have something that you know exactly what you have turned in, you know exactly what to read, and you're precise in your language, because language really matters whenever we get into this, and we'll talk about that in just a second with the parliamentarians. But more importantly, like you said, we have something now that we can quickly get on the screen if we have to be able to show that so the fellow messengers will know what they're talking, debating, and what they're talking about whenever they're debating a potential amendment or a motion or something like that. It allows us to be quick with that, and it really makes it convenient to you, because I don't know if messengers really know this, especially if you've never made a motion or talked at the annual meeting. You have to fill out a form. So you get up there to the microphone and you've got to fill out a form with the pages to turn in your motion. So at some point it's got to be written and turned in, but this allows you to just go pre-filed, and it takes you 10 seconds to fill out the form instead of sitting there and handwriting the thing and us trying to decipher your handwriting or whatever it may be to get the exact wording. So this saves you a lot of time, makes it easier for you, and it makes it easier for your fellow messengers to have it. So anything to add on that before we get to the parliamentarians and the specifics of wording?
Yeah, let me say one more thing. messengers, you want to have it written in front of you. Even
Yes.
if you're ornery and you decide you don't want to pre-file it, you want to have it written in front of you for
Hmm.
two reasons. You want to make sure you get your wording right. We'll
Hmm.
talk about that in just a second. But you also want to make sure you're understood. There's a time lag between you speaking into the microphone and what we hear.
Yeah.
And that can be a little bit distracting for folks who've never spoken at the SBC before because they're hearing their own echo
Yeah.
kind of in their ear.
Yeah,
If
it's
you have it
about a third
written
of a
out in front
second,
of you,
and it's enough to really throw you off.
it really can. So if you have it written out in front of you and you're just looking down and you're working through that material and you're looking up, that's going to keep you on track. You're going to be a better communicator. We're all going to know what you're talking about. And again, it's going to make everything go much smoother. So
Yeah.
even if you don't pre-file it, but you should, write it out,
Yeah.
have the wording in front of you. It's going to make for a better motion whenever you speak.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So we talked a little bit about this precision in wording. Parliamentarians are available. They'll be at the orientation. So if you have a motion and you just want somebody to, nobody's going to do anything or try to talk you out of it or anything like that, or try to change your motion, but they can tell you, hey, there's a problem in your language, or hey, that language is really good. It should be in order. Because the last thing you want to do is spend your time over the next few weeks getting ready to make a motion at the annual meeting, and something that is probably very important to you, and to show up to make your motion, and because you had a word or two wrong here or there, or used a word incorrectly in your motion, to have it automatically thrown out and never considered. And that has to be frustrating. I know, and it happens every year, unfortunately, to messengers, that there's a word or two, there's a few buzzwords that you just can't use. So let's talk about precision in language.
So you want to make sure that if you are making a motion, it is related to the business of the Southern Baptist Convention.
Mhm.
It's not going to be a resolution that's taking a position statement on something. It's related to the actual working of the business of the convention. You cannot make a motion that directs an entity or an agency to do something. You want to ask that the
Yeah.
board of that agency to consider whatever it is. And again, the parliamentarians can help you think through this. Here's what you need to know about the parliamentarians. They don't work for the Southern Baptist Convention president. They don't work for the officers. They don't work for the executive committee. They serve all those individuals, but they work for you
Yes.
as messengers. And they're there to help you think through what to say so that your desire matches the outcome that conventions are thinking through, that the convention is thinking through.
Yeah.
So go up to the front, talk to the parliamentarians, let them help you not make mistakes so that you're not frustrated on the other side and feel like you've not been heard. We want to hear you, and the parliamentarians want to help you be heard.
Yes. So there will be a parliamentarian or two or three at the messenger orientation. So that's your first opportunity to really interact with them and have them just review your motion, whatever it may be. And there's also, you can come up to the business stage pretty much at any time. Nathan sits on the front row of the business stage. The parliamentarians are sitting right behind him, and typically I'm right behind him. And they allow, like, you're allowed to just come up. There's a sign that says messenger parliamentarian. And you can come up to that sign and just flag down somebody on the stage. It'll be, if you're looking at the stage, it's just to the left of the stage, and you'll see other people sitting there. Come up there, flag down a parliamentarian. We can get somebody out to you, and they can look it over real quick. I mean, you can do that in the course of business. That's what they're there for. They're sitting there waiting to serve messengers, because at the end of the day, we're all there to serve the messengers of the convention. So there's multiple opportunities to do that. You can come during a break. You can come before the session starts. You can come in the middle of the session. Maybe don't come during the middle of a sermon or something like that. But we're there if you need us. We can take care of it. We can help you out. So that's there. And then one final note: there will be several nominations this year, and maybe you're planning. Hey, I want to nominate somebody for first vice president, for second vice president. Maybe you want to nominate somebody to run against Nathan. Who knows? That's fine. Things to know about nominations, Nathan. I mean, you don't have to announce them before the convention. You can get up there. I think every year we probably have somebody that we didn't know was going to be nominated until the nominations happen, because there is no formal nominations until they happen on the stage.
That's right.
So a few things that people maybe need to know about that.
So it doesn't count until you're there. So you've got to be ready beforehand. It's already in the schedule when those nominating periods are going to be there. So you want to make sure you're there well in advance. It'll be announced from the platform if you have nominations for the registration secretary. Come meet someone in the back. So you want to be ready. You want to have that nomination speech written out. You want it to be in the time that's allotted, which I think is 3 minutes. Is that right?
3 minutes.
So you want it within 3 minutes. Remember, the goal is to commend your nominee, not to criticize any other nominees that may or may not be nominated, and make a compelling case. A lot of folks at the SBC, this is one of our favorite things, is hearing these nominating speeches and having the opportunity to vote for these individuals. And so make sure you know what you're going to say, be ready to say it, make the best case, and we look forward to seeing how the Holy Spirit moves.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, you don't have to, if you're running if you want to be nominated, you can nominate yourself. We've seen it. We saw someone almost win a couple years ago that nominated themselves.
We have.
And we've seen it happen in the past. That is totally fine. It doesn't have to be somebody else. The only qualification to make a nomination speech is to be a messenger to the convention.
You have to be a messenger.
That's it.
And Jonathan, on a lighter note, do you think having poetry in a nominating speech helps or hurts when you're being nominated?
I feel like you're referencing something, but I'm not picking it up. So it depends on the poetry. I mean, if you're quoting Robert Frost, maybe not. But
I understand.
Or something random.
Last year, I was nominated with a poem by Dean and Sarah.
Oh, okay.
It
worked, I guess. You're here.
Poetry works. I mean, it helped that I was unopposed, but poetry so far works. And so you might want to be thinking about that if you're going to nominate somebody.
Yeah, write a haiku. This year, that's what Nathan's going for. Forget the 3 minutes. We're just going to do 3 lines, haiku, and he's in. Yeah.
A limerick.
We're done with that.
There once was a candidate
from Greenville.
Or wherever.
So wherever you're from. Yeah. So, the nomination speeches, the only guardrails on it, 3 minutes. I mean, that's it. I mean, there are no, you have to announce these parts. I mean, there are obviously certain parts that are helpful in nomination speeches, but there's no requirements other than you got 3 minutes. So,
and
again, listen to the moderator, Bart or whoever's moderating the session. They will say from the stage, the election for, let's say, second vice president will be held shortly. If you are intend to nominate someone, please come up to the front. Please come up to the side of the stage, and we'll take care of you. Flag somebody down, say, hey, I'm going to nominate somebody, and we'll move on from there.
And we do need to say, if you start to hit that 3 minute mark, you're going to get the parliamentarian tap on the shoulder.
Yeah. Craig Colbert.
Friend, you don't want the tap on the shoulder. And so let's keep it to 3 minutes.
Yes. So, Craig Colbert typically has done that role just to remind folks, hey, your time's kind of running out. And they'll give you a little grace to finish up your speech. But try to, practice it, have it ready, 3 minutes max on that. So, all right, Nathan, we've talked parliamentarians, we've talked nomination speeches, we've talked all the apps and everything available to folks, all the resources that we'll have at the annual meeting. Anything else, orientation, we talked about that. Anything else that messengers need to know so they can be better prepared and better informed when they show up in Indy?
There is one more thing I want to say. Okay. Friends, you want to be in the room.
Yes.
The messengers who are in the room made decisions. Last year, we made some really important decisions when a lot of folks have left. And that happens every year. We know you're hungry. We know you have to go to the bathroom sometimes. We know that things come up. But make sure you have your snacks with you. Make sure you're taking bathroom breaks whenever there's not business that's happening. Be flexible with your meal plans if necessary. Be in the room. We want every voice heard. That's the Southern Baptist way.
Yes, absolutely. And the big events that are going on at lunchtime or maybe dinner time, they're going to wait until the business is over. I mean, we hold them up. Right. So don't worry about trying to rush out to be able to get to a seminary lunch or another lunch or a dinner or something like that. We're going to hold them up, and they will not start without the business being done. So that is the priority there. And you mentioned restrooms. This year, facility-wise, just because I've been there and I know this, restrooms are in the hall. So I'm not in the hallway, but in the hall that you're in. So at the back of the room, there are restrooms right there. So you don't even have to leave and go outside into the hallway to find a restroom or anything. They're right there at the back of the room. So very convenient, really easy to get to. And you don't even have to leave the room. So Good to
Great.
go there. All right. Well, Nathan, thanks for joining us. And thank you for watching at home. We want to remind you that your road to Indy and your road back home should include a quick side trip to Southern Seminary and Boyce College in Louisville, Kentucky. Go to sbts.edu/road trip to see what Southern has planned for SBC 24 road trippers just like you. Again, we hope to see you join us in Indianapolis in June. You can join us right here next week on the Road to Indy, presented by Southern Seminary and Boyce College.